So the paper entitled Linguistically Manipulative Disputable Semantic Nature of the Community Reddit feed post focuses on linguistic discovery of cognitive patterns interrelated with implications as well as explications, applying linguistic markers within the chosen Reddit comment sections of the discussion charts. What became an ease today, underlying beneficial consequences is to impose manipulative impact on masses. Indirect, implicit, influential techniques are considered to be imposed on users within social networks. Social networks foster a lengthy communication process triggering studies based on digital and software-oriented approaches concerning human consciousness patterns, in an attempt to at least comprehend and slightly uncover the extent of interrelation between mental human inner world and both external and internal language processes. A variety of scientific studies have been considered within the sphere of psychology and linguistics, as well as social linguistics. Judging from the personal linguistic features inherent to certain type of speech, one can speculate on interpersonal lingual intentions, determining both negative and positive emotional states of mind, as well as discover general cognitive processes. The notion of online community is regarded to be a trigger to establish a reputable social network. The Reddit social chatting network was chosen to be a basis for the study, as it is referred to public social networks as it may involve masses among which a vast amount of data is shared. Reddit is marked by a bulk of feeds, threads, and folding rubrics ranging from popular posts subdivided into hot new tab around the globe to Reddit Live. In modern linguistic studies, language influences the interlocutor, thus regulating personal relationships, mental state, and behavior. One of the most effective types of hidden influence is language manipulation. The manipulative functions of discourse generate a hidden layer of linguistic data that is not easy to separate from purely informative content. By influencing the person, we strive to create his or her behavior in accordance with our needs. Techniques of linguistic manipulation are used and will always be used. Regarding the purpose of the paper, conducting semantic analysis of the textual fragments in comment discussion charts, particular linguistic markers are performed when marking statements as disputable and manipulated. Preliminary results were based on Reddit news post rubric as coronavirus megathreat. The pandemic process was evolving in its initial stage. Now, it is this time, Reddit coronavirus community is a study basis as it is worth further studies in this new field in order to spot the global virus peculiarities in terms of cognitive shifts and psycholinguistic conversation behavioral patterns. Since apart from semantic analysis, we have to conduct preliminary linguistic contextual analysis, aiming at implicitly and explicitly reveal potential headings for discussion charts. This way, we allocate the most frequent linguistic markers with manipulative and contradictory implications according to the following headings. Mental virus vaccine effects involve social manipulative psycholinguistic material concerning community member speculations on how coronavirus and vaccination affects society in general. The discussion thread topics range from deep psychological problems, hopes, and predictions to primitive typical chats. And the second, virus vaccine geography, covers location-centered manipulative statistics and places of expansion with fearful facts and debate and warning and taking actions. Here the accent is made on current ongoing epidemic situation. We allocate semantic groups according to the previous headings, which are grouped in accordance with those introduced by software to linguistic inquiry and word count, LIWC, both figures are shown. We apply conflict-solving modes previously used to the coronavirus community comments. The first discussion heading chart is shown below. It is followed by linguistic markers in bold italics, implying negative emotions, positive emotions, and cognitive processes. Manually, more than 100 textual fragments of the first discussion chart were thoroughly analyzed, but it was given partially about illustrate the process of semantic textual analysis. We prove with an automatic program report that there is an equal number of positive emotions and negative ones in the comments, It can be substantiated that such Reddit rubric is neither positive nor negative. We have a case of mere mental processes aiming at bridging the gap between long-term pandemic stagnation and finding ways to eradicate that. The second discussion heading chart is shown below, is followed by linguistic markers in both intellects implying also negative emotions, positive emotions, and cognitive processes. We prove that with a computerized report that positive emotions prevail in the commands, as the applied linguistics marker help to determine semantic coloring of hope for normal life conditions involving vaccination. In an attempt to contrast the balanced ratio outcomes of the first heading concerning the Reddit commands, semantic analysis with our data, one should note no particular frequency of any semantic field subdivision, social words, positive emotions. The percentage figures are even lower than the average amount. Such instability in textual command fragments prove general insufficient attention paid to such Reddit rubric, which cannot be said about cognitive processes. They are ranked higher than the average percentage, what is proved both manually and automatically. The Reddit coronavirus rubric debates have been actively considered, involving textual base of statements following personal deductions, which are proved by singling out linguistic markers which help to denote them. The two allocated headings, mental virus vaccine effects and virus vaccine geography, have manipulative contradictory nature as it was discovered linguistically, mainly semantically, and more explicitly than implicitly. To contrast and compare our current results concerning application of conflict-solving modes with the previous one, we may firmly agree with the fact that no compromising resolution was applied to the allocated coronavirus rubric textual fragment. What concerns accommodating resolution strategy, the same frequency figures were considered, which proves the similarity of acceptance of the ongoing process concerning current pandemic situation. The main manipulative feature in this term of textual fragments being applied to accommodating strategy is mere equating one's own desires to persist virus obsession. The strategy of competing is much higher as dramatically assertive linguistic markers were revealed, denoting giving chose to be alive or die or get infected on purpose, etc. Though the same negative virus semantics dominated in the previous rubric, the frequency of application of avoiding strategy is comparatively low. It may be substantiated by the fact that no reality escape was predicted. All issues were shifted to whether collaborative or competing strategy modes. Collaborating conflict resolution is pretty low in comparing frequencies as there was no strong necessity to support mutual inability to take actions or maintain conversation rudeness. The most distinctive feature between those two general command sections is the fact that statements singled out in the previous paper in coronavirus rubric were represented in a form of words, phrases involving exclamations, linking words, rude vocabulary denoting speculations in probable virus situation scenarios. As users were not so profoundly aware of the pandemic as they are nowadays, their form of discussion was abrupt, rhetoric, required lots of contradictions. Current textual semantic analysis proved that statements in coronavirus community command sections resemble a form of sentences which we had to contract in order to vividly demonstrate those essential marked parts. This way, sentences were more substantiated as users seemed to operate factual base of the situation for the time being, thus manipulating users' consciousness in a way to provoke controversies on issues. But such drastic contradictions as in the previous analysis were not spotted, as facts and knowledge base concerning virus vaccination initial and ongoing phases hindered conflict situations and fostered collaboration. I words prevailed in the first discussion charts. Short, abrupt statements are inherent to title rubric command section. Varies within communities, opinion-centered approach is concerned. Positive emotions dominated in the second discussion chart as both linguistically explicit and implicit manipulations of promising bright future in terms of mental coronavirus health effects were greatly detected. Negative emotions prevail in the second discussion chart, being marked linguistically as fearful efforts to overcome virus effects and its further mental problems. Unlike cognitive processes in the first discussion chart, the second ones were substantiated mainly by the implicitly revealed in stable health modes and explicitness of taken actions to remain unlocked under usual life conditions. This time, Reddit discussion comment sections were chosen not from random unpopular opinion rubric, but from coronavirus community rubric. Such choice was substantiated by required contrasting and comparison of the previous findings on initial phase of coronavirus rubric discussion charts with ongoing phase of virus vaccine effects and mental health consequences. Concerning textual semantic analysis, semantic groups were singled out on the basis of linguistic commands which were marked, analyzed both implicitly and explicitly, and proved as manually as statistically. For the latter purpose, such software tool as LWIC revealing linguistic markers and psycholinguistic patterns encoding and decoding was applied. After each paragraph, justified linguistic comments were given. The Reddit disputable situation analysis, which implies solving disputable modes represented in appropriate tables, was performed. In addition, tables of frequency of computerized fragment analysis of the Reddit coronavirus commands were provided. The statistic comparison of semantic analysis of both Reddit coronavirus posts was performed. In psycholinguistic perspective, social models of communicative behavior may be a ground for discovering peculiarities of online communication affected by pandemic.